Here's 9 mistakes you need to avoid in your next Hirevue video interview. What's up guys, it's Mike from Job Ready English. Today we're really going to be zeroing in on Hirevue video interviews. Over 80% of first round interviews now are going to be done on video, and the chances are pretty good that it's going to be done through Hirevue. So we've been digging into this in a couple of videos because I know that a lot of people are really curious about how they can pass Hirevue video interviews, and I want to go through 9 common mistakes that we see with our clients, with questions and with our experience, because I've been coaching since before Hirevue came around, since 2013. So I think I know a thing or two about coaching people for the Hirevue video interview. If you want more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and drop us a comment down below and let us know what other videos you'd like us to make so that we can help you get that job that you're looking for. So without further ado, let's jump into these 9 mistakes and what we can do to avoid them. Mistake number 1, a lack of preparation. The amount of times that I've had clients for one-to-one sessions, whether they've booked a couple of sessions or booked with one of our other coaches, and they turn up and say, why do you want to work for PwC? And they're like, I don't know, it's a big company and they pay really good money. I mean, honestly, a lot of times this is the biggest mistake. Always remember, you're always going to get asked why you want to work for this company, why you want to do this job. And you're probably going to get asked something like, tell me about yourself, why you? Make sure you do your homework. A lot of times people complain about failing interviews, but really when they're asked, well, how much time have you actually spent preparing and practicing for the interview? The answer is not a lot, or they leave it until the last minute and then they panic. So make sure that you get your preparation done. You can get your research done in a day, get your scripts done in a day, and spend the rest of your time practicing your answers. Remember, a Hirevue video interview is all about talking to the camera. So what's the best practice? Talk in front of a camera and watch yourself back. Mistake number 2, ineffective practice. So what I mean by this is something that I alluded to in mistake number 1, which is often what I'll find is that a candidate will write out a script for their video interview, and then they'll spend the rest of their time reading from the script, whether that be on the screen, printed out, so they'll just go for it, read it over and over again, like it's a textbook or something that they're having to dedicate to their memory. This is really ineffective practice, because the chances are, number 1, you're not going to remember it in the time that you have, which is a couple of days. Number 2, you're going to sound really robotic reading your script. So the script might be good, but you're just going to sound boring and monotonous. And number 3, it's not effective because it's not actually what you need to be doing. What you need to be doing is speaking to the camera, watching yourself back, and noting what you're doing wrong and what you're doing right. And if you're like watching this video and you say, well, Mike, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, what I'm doing right. Everybody does. That's the truth. So when you watch a video back of yourself, you'll think, I should have been faster, slower. Here's what I wanted to say. Oh, I missed this word, or I messed this up. If you do that 3 times in a row for each question, you will see a massive difference. And this is a much more effective use of your time when you practice. Mistake number 3, knowing your timings. So we've talked about this quite a lot in past the interview videos, which God knows, I think there must be 30 or 40 of them now. So you want to be talking for about 100 words per minute, roundabout. Everybody's different, some are a bit faster, some are a bit slower. And the reason why that's useful to know is because number 1, you know how much to write for your script. And number 2, you know roughly what to pitch for when you're getting a 90-second interview. You're like, oh, that's about 150 words, or a 3-minute interview, that's about 300 words. A lot of times what I'll notice with candidates when I watch their videos or I have one-to-ones with them is that they're either going to be way too short or way over time. So know your timings, and you can do that as you're practicing your video. A good thing to do as well is once you've written out your script, just speak it out loud and time yourself. You'd be really surprised how few times people will just time themselves to see how long they're talking for, because then you've got a benchmark. Because like I said, 100 words per minute is a good just straight average, but everybody is different and all of you are going to have different speaking speeds. Mistake number 4, poor surroundings. Now, we've all seen, there's this hilarious BBC News video of this guy's doing his interview, and then his baby comes in and a nanny comes in, and it's just bedlam while he's trying to do the interview. You might not have the same problem, but just bearing in mind, your surroundings shouldn't show, I've seen messy beds, open wardrobes, just basically crap holes in the back, and I'm just thinking, you look nice, but you basically look like you're living in a dumpster. So if you're thinking, what's the ideal surroundings or background to have? Just a blank wall. I know I love to stick pieces of paper on the wall, and I've got my monitors, but that's just for me and I'm quite happy with it. Do you think I should change my background? Drop me a comment down below and let me know. But the best background to have is just a plain white wall. I mean, you can have something pretty, preferably not a window, because you don't want to be affected by the glare or somebody's eye to change if somebody's going past the window. But just make sure that you're mindful of your surroundings that you're recording on the back of. Mistake number 5, poor setup. So I've seen a lot of different things with this. Bad audio, that's a big one. Whether you, I had a client the other day who I was speaking to who called me from India, and she had a microphone that came down to her face, and it just like all the time, and it was so annoying. And I said to her, look, can you change what you have? AirPods are really good, headphones, but making sure that you run through all your equipment, making sure that the video is of a good enough quality, that you've got good downward lighting. Obviously we've got nice lighting here because we've got the office, we've got a panel light, and we've got a side light at the window, but just so that somebody can clearly see your face, just sitting under the light is enough. You don't need to go out and get a professional lighting kit. And also just everything is all hooked up and connected. If you can test, which you should be able to with your Hirevue video interview, just run through the test. And I would do that beforehand. I wouldn't do it on the day. So sometimes we've had clients get in contact with us like, oh my God, like I've had technical difficulties. I don't know what to do. How can I get in contact with the company? And we're like, I don't know. Like, we're not Morgan Stanley. You're going to have to speak to them. The problem is Morgan Stanley gets a lot of emails. So if you're going, oh, can I do a repeat? They're sitting there with their HR team going through thousands of emails. And they're like, yeah, you're going to have to go to the back of the bus, because we've got other more important things to do. So try and do things ahead of time. That's why it's always really good to record video ahead of time, because you can test all your kit, you can get everything kind of evened out. It could be something as silly as like a greasy lens on your camera, or just a poor internet connection. Make sure you test your tech well ahead of time. I would say day before minimum, or even once you start practicing, you can practice it on that day. So you kind of know your setup. And also the more familiar you are with your setup, the more comfortable you are, instead of kind of sitting there and going, well, I guess this works. Mistake number 6, not reading the questions and the instructions. I've seen this so many times and it's super painful. So somebody will talk for too long, not talk long enough. They won't really sit and understand the question. A really good tip I've seen from a lot of different HR professionals, I was reading about this on Reddit the other day, and it was from, a hiring manager from a big tech company, and his tip was really simple. When somebody asks you a question, tell me about a time when you worked in a team. Just think, what are they asking me to say? Or why are they asking me this question? Be like, well, what are they asking me to say? Well, they're asking me to talk about working with other people. Why are they asking me this? Oh, they must want me to really demonstrate that I'm good at teamwork. Now, what this appears like is you just being silent for 5 seconds, but this is going to really change what's going to come out of your mouth. So this is a really good tip to have. Just make sure, take the time, don't be in a rush. This is really common. A lot of times it's not because people are careless, it's just that they're nervous or fearful, so they rush. So if you need to, that's the whole thing. We used to have it in school in the UK. It's like, check it twice. Make sure you read it after the end. I certainly have had to learn that as I've gotten older through being a professional writer, that I'd send something out and then go, oh my God, it's got a spelling mistake, that's so silly. So make sure that you read the questions and the instructions, because it could be something as simple as you expected the question to be 2 minutes and now you have 2.5 minutes, or now you have 1.5 minutes. So just pay attention and be slow and thorough. Mistake number 8, running over time. I see this all the time. So this is probably one of the more common mistakes. We spoke about it before about timings. It's rare that people will run over. They're going to run over. This is really easy to fix. Number 1, time yourself. Number 2, say less. This sounds really silly, and you're probably watching that and like, duh, of course I'm going to say less. But the point is, someone will prepare an A4 page of script, which is like 400 words. They'll be like, but I have to say all these things. They'll be like, really? And if you're trying to figure out what to drop, just think, well, what's really important to the employer? Not what's important to you. What do you want to include in that's going to make you look good? But what's important to the employer? What is going to be really valuable for them in terms of the job description and the skills that are being outlined? Make sure you stick around to the 9th mistake to discover 3 hacks to read your script confidently and not sound like a robot. Mistake number 9, being overly reliant on scripts. A lot of people use scripts, it's quite common. And also, when you think about it, it's a really difficult thing to do, to just off the cuff be like, hey, tell me about a time when you led a team. You're like, oh, okay, Stan. You're gonna feel anxious. You're gonna want to find some sort of comfort in having a script. And you can use a script, that's okay. But if you're just reading off a screen, it's gonna be exactly like you're reading out of a book. You're gonna sound monotone and quite robotic. And to anybody looking at you, you're just gonna sound quite boring. So this can be a difficult thing to break out of, because if you don't have a script, then you lose confidence and you feel anxious and nervous. But if you do have a script, you sound robotic. So as promised, here are my 3 hacks for reading scripts with confidence. Number 1, index cards. So you'll have a script, which will be like an A4 page. You can use the index cards to write out the bullet points for what you want to say. This is pretty cool. Also, you can end up doing something like this. So say, for example, you've got your video camera here. You could just put your bullet points, index cards back here, or you could put them around the table, whatever you wanted to do. But this is pretty cool. And this is a nice one. I know a lot of people who do this and I often suggest it. Hack number 2, second screen. So this is something that I use all the time. I've used the second screen for many years because it's really useful for writing. It's also really useful for coaching and consulting calls, because I can have a client on one screen and I can be referring to a document, making notes, whatever I'm doing. But it's pretty cool because you can just glance across, look at your notes and look back. There's nothing wrong with having your notes on screen, but Hirevue may not allow you to do that. So it may have to be on screen and you can't exit the program. That's one thing to bear in mind. Also, this just seems a little bit more natural, like glancing across, glancing back. And that's quite useful if you want your notes to be a little bit bigger. Hack number 3 is super cool. Just use an AutoCue. So you can have an AutoCue which tees up your scripts. This one is a little bit more fiddly if you don't really know the questions. So an AutoCue, also known as a teleprompter, is something that newscasters use and a lot of people on TV use. So it's basically where you just have words running down the screen as you're talking. That's super cool and it's a really nice thing to do. What I would say about the AutoCue is that it can be a little bit fiddly to set up. So you'd need to have your script set aside with all your questions. You might have 60 seconds to put in your AutoCue, and this one can be a little bit more difficult. So I definitely would say try and get used to that. Don't use it for the first time when you're doing an interview. So those are my 9 mistakes to avoid in your next Hirevue interview. I wish you the very best of luck. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel and see you next time. Good luck.